The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
There we
Oh,
are. Good evening, everybody.
hey. Sorry, Gene.
No, you have it.
Oh, Gene, do your stick. It's been 5 months. Do your stick.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But anyhow,
I forgot my stick.
yeah, I forgot my stick. Anyhow, good evening, everybody. We're glad you're here, and we have a lot of people joining us. So,
Well, that's the dulcet tones of Gene Colbago. Also welcoming to the airways is Roger Carroll. When I was younger, I used to go in the basement and play radio station, Gene. You would have been a good guest. I used to read the Gazette into a tape player and play American Pie, which would take a long time. I'd have 30 minutes, and then I'd have to flip the tape over.
oh yeah,
Most people have no idea what I'm talking about. Flip it over and have another 30 minutes, and I wanted to be a disc jockey. That was my goal. I mean,
that's cool.
I had a high bar and ended up here in school. It's kind of interesting, but hey, welcome everybody. It is 7:02. We're not going to go more than 45 minutes here tonight. I want to welcome everybody back. I see the attendance list growing. Thank you to Gene and Roger for setting this up, along with Ray Granieri, who is here present, along with the people that need no introductions, Maria Massaro and Rick Corella. Of course, they don't need any introductions. Everyone knows who they are, and they'll be contributing to this webinar. And thank you to all of the staff that are on, and thank you to all the staff that are listening to it the next day, or of course the next week. I thought mid-year we would kind of hit a mid-year update for everyone to hear. A couple of quick updates, and then propose that we do this near the end of the year again too, in May or June, before we go away for the summer break. And a little bit of post-traumatic stress syndrome I had, because I thought about COVID, but that word will no longer exist in our parlance. But I'm glad we are where we are, and that we've come out of that better for it. So I have a couple of updates, as we usually do, and then I'm going to pass it around, and the board is up for questions. In case anybody wants to ask a question, I have two of them here. Please feel free to ask. But thank you to everybody for your work, for your time this evening, or when you're listening to this. A couple of things that I wanted to go through. I especially want Ms. Massaro to take some time to give any staffing, personnel, training updates. There's a lot of different things that she may or may not have to share, but there are some COVID information that I'm asking her to particularly share, to be clarifying in case there are any questions. She's worked on that. But Ray is certainly going to talk to you about clear touch boards training, the replacement of your old board, and we're going to move away from those old boards so that they don't exist, and he'll talk to you about that process. Plus, one of the last audit areas is multi-factor authentication that we started here in central office, that I want Ray to speak about. And by the way, I was a little bit nervous, but if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I was able to figure it out, not only on my computer, but on my phone. So he'll speak to you about that. And then of course, Rick will have many poignant and salient points for you to just digest them and walk away more knowledgeable than you ever are. So a couple of things that I wanted to begin with. And first of all, I want to say we did a poll today, and we have selected our most faithful and dedicated listener, and that is Angie Freeman Harrigan. She is getting the award for the most faithful and dedicated listener. Angie, thank you very much for always being on the call, as many of you are, but I wanted to give a shout out to Angie. And unlike the smithing that I went through and some of you received, there will not be any special gifts for me other than a warm thank you. But we'll talk about fishing in a minute, smithing in a minute. But Angie, I wanted to say hello to you in particular. So let's start there. fished and smithed all the time. I give so much credit to our staff because Ray gets one once a day. That is not hyperbole. That is not, exaggeration. That is the truth. And because I feel because people have been so diligent in looking for those indicators of what could be a fish or a smith, which is a smith. I'm going to call it smith. It's going to be my own word. That's coming next. But I mean by texting. What's that called? Smith? Schmishing. Forget it. Smithing in my book. But please keep up your diligence. I know I put that out there every week, but we've been able to thwart a lot because people are paying attention. And I remember maybe a couple months ago, I sent something out, being in the hurry that I usually am and shouldn't be. I sent something out, thought, oh my God, did I just promulgate a fish? And was relieved to find out that I didn't, because we just have to pause and take some time before we send things out. And I'm just as guilty as anyone else. Spoke to the Board of Education on Thursday night about the 24-25 school budget, and it is so there are 3 budgets that come from New York State: the governor's budget, the legislative budget, and then the final budget. The governor's budget run for Niagara Falls and most of the 635 school districts is not very good. Not very good. The governor is supposed to follow something in law called the foundation aid formula. She did it for her first 2 years, and then this year decided to make up her own formula, much like her predecessor. And I understand how the formula works. I don't agree with it. Plus, I don't really agree with violating the law and making up your own formula. The bottom line is, in a district like Niagara Falls that, because of our poverty and population, relies on state funding, we are scheduled to get an increase of $480,000 from one year to the next. Now, you know what the cost of the CPI or the cost of living is. In January, it's 4.21. $489,000 won't go very far. So it is not following a rule or a law. It is not a good budget. The local politicians and state politicians have heard this across the state. The legislature has a lot of work to do. They'll put their budget together, and then by April 1st, we're supposed to have a final budget. I am not panicking. We're not worried. However, I need to let you know that if you have opportunities to speak or talk about school funding, it is nowhere near what any school district, especially Niagara Falls, should get or needs to get. So I would ask you to tune into our board meetings. You'll see a presentation every board meeting through April when we'll have the final budget. I don't like to cause angst and consternation for people who worry about things like that. We will find a way to make it work. But just as an aside, all of that good money that we spent and all of those good programs that we had were able to put together during COVID can't just go away because the effects and the long-term impacts of COVID aren't going away. And I think it'll really be very, very destructive to step that far away, or to step any bit away from a lot of the good programs that we're starting to see fruit being bared from some of the initiatives we have. We will work hard. We will keep everybody posted and keep you abreast of it. We don't believe this will be the final budget, but the governor's budget certainly was not favorable to education. It's not my place on this call to get into where the money is and where it isn't, but it's certainly not in education. If you listen to any one of the 635 school districts across the state, they will all, I think to a person, tell you that we're not happy. As a matter of fact, some districts are getting fewer dollars than they received last year, fewer. So that's very alarming and very concerning. On to some better news. Our capital projects were approved, contracts were awarded. You're going to start to see work in our schools. Some of the first work that will take place will be to line all of the first floor windows with bullet resistant bullet resistant film. That is one more layer of safety and security that are coming to stop the lunatics, the crazy, crazy sick people who do things in schools. Happy about that. Over the course of the next 2 years, school vestibules will be rebuilt to have a double door system. More cameras are coming. More proc systems are coming. Updated systems are coming. Something called Security Expert, which alarms a door with a camera, with a nuisance alarm, that's all integrated into one system, is coming. We have approval to do that. On a positive note for Bond Elementary, Bond Primary, we have a state-of-the-art greenhouse coming to Bond Primary. We were able to get a very, very nice greenhouse that will be built in the vicinity off of the doors where the statue, where the 3 children are holding hands, or 5 children are holding hands. You'll soon see soil being dug out, concrete being dug out in front of the playground, and a greenhouse being built there. Everything will be in that greenhouse. It'll be a great teaching tool for the school and for the community. It will receive everything except air conditioning, which is something we weren't able to get into the project. Additionally, the project features air conditioning for our last 2 buildings, Gaskill and LaSalle. And I wish I could tell you that you'll have it for this upcoming spring, but that would be promising you something that we just won't be ready for. But give us a year and a half, you're going to have air conditioning in those 2 very, very old buildings. And we will then become one of the very few districts in New York State that are completely air conditioned in all of our buildings, with the exception of the CEC and some of our Head Start location at DeFrancesco. So those are the 2 that we'll have to work on down the line, but everywhere else it will be air conditioned. There's a question here that was posed to us. They must have seen the beautiful job that was done on the gym floors at Cataract and Niagara Falls High School's auxiliary gym over the Christmas break. And our goal would be, if we can afford it, and we'll find a way, would be to do 1 to 2 gym floors every year on a cycle. Starting with the ones that are in the worst shape, which we thought at the time were Cataract and the auxiliary gym, which hadn't been done since the building had been built. They came out beautiful. It's such an extensive job that we have to go right down to the base. We have to bid this work out, but I'm really pleased with that. And under the direction of Mr. Smeal, we'll look for our next 2 schools, and we'll start to put together a schedule. We like to have everything on a schedule, including floor mats. If you see the floor mats in different schools, they take a beating and a pounding with the salt, especially now. So we like to do 2 to 3 schools every year, so we don't have to take a big hit all at once, or we never get too far behind. So we'll take a look at the most needy schools, prioritize them, and keep them on a cycle. You won't see this summer or next year all the remaining floors getting done. We're able to do the stages as well. And Cataract is going to get a new stage curtain as well. So that was in need of some attention. And we're also going to put a new stage curtain while we're there at the CEC. So our hope for gym floors, floor mats, stage curtains, stages, is to put them on a cycle, pick up 2 or 3 every year, depending on the where and the need, and get those done. It's just like we finally got every roof done. So we won't have to be doing a roof in the district for quite a while. So that's the answer to one question. I still want to keep reminding everyone to just be very careful as you traverse the area around the schools. even this morning, and we salted with 3 individuals last night, salting at 3 in the morning. Please be very careful. We want you to be safe. Please check your footwear if you see water spots. It just bears repeating. It just is for your safety and protection. Always report that and help someone out. Help someone by reporting it right away so someone doesn't slip and fall. You could be seriously hurt, and we don't want that to happen. Jumping into my head, it's just we're talking about security, just like propping doors open. You see it, you take care of it, and you report it. Another safety feature that I'm going to be speaking to Mr. Graneri about is a product called Zero Eyes that we're getting close to signing the agreement with. It opens up our cameras to check for bad people as they get out of their car with weapons. So it is not facial recognition, but just like the Evolve systems detect any kind of you've seen them in your school, so you know what they are. We can put a film on our camera, so to speak, and detect anyone that is in a parking lot or a vicinity and has a weapon that's displayed. And if we learn anything from school safety, many of these lunatics are getting themselves ready outside of locations, and it could save up to 15 to 20 seconds, which will save lives. So we will be doing that very soon too, and I'm going to speak to Ray about adding that to our repertoire of scaffolded safety. We continue to struggle with our buses. I wish I could tell you better news, but the number of bus drivers has not changed. Thank everybody for their creative solutions and patience. I appreciate that. You may or may not have seen or heard or read today. We had a proposal and a program called Say Yes in front of the board on Thursday. We've been working really, really diligently to bring Say Yes to Niagara Falls. Say Yes is currently in Buffalo. The Say Yes Foundation in Buffalo has raised over 60, well, it's got 61 of $65 million raised so that programs can happen in Buffalo. And the anchor of that money through philanthropic and governmental support has been to allow any student who has been a resident of the city for a specific time that we set to go to college or an apprenticeship and have their last dollars paid for. So what does that mean? That if you want to apply to a Say Yes college, that's any SUNY or CUNY school and over 100 colleges across the country, and you're going there once you've used up all of your financial aid and applied for all of that, this foundation will then pay the last dollars in. And that goes for all graduates, not just socioeconomically needy, any Niagara Falls High School graduate, which is something that we're working very, very hard on. We're hoping to launch that in the 25-26 school year. We have this year and next year to do a lot of planning around that, and then Say Yes to sign a commitment to come to Niagara Falls to be their first expansion site. Been very successful in helping the Buffalo School District. There are 16 pillars to Say Yes. We're looking to work with them for 4 pillars. The last money in for college or apprenticeships. So they will pay for any apprenticeship courses or work that has to be done if you're not going to college. The third program is to open up 3 or 4 of our schools on Saturdays so that there is a Saturday school community activity in, I would say, 3 or 4 of our schools. Every Saturday, every other Saturday, we'd have to lay out a schedule. A lot of it is STEM activities and robotics, but there are also classes for parents and students. And finally, to help us with more programs for boys and men of color. Those are the 4 programs or the 4 pillars that we're hoping to take from Say Yes and implement in Niagara Falls. I'm going to brag a minute and say, why don't we want the other 12 to make it 16? Because we're already doing many of them. For instance, early childhood. There's a lot around early childhood, and we just don't need to replicate what we've done. So with the focus on those 4 areas, we're working very hard to bring Say Yes to Niagara Falls. I think it will be a huge, huge incentive and game changer for kids, parents, and families. And I believe that because of the great success of our P-TECH programs. P-TECH in the industrial manufacturing sector, Pathways, 45 college-bearing courses at Niagara Falls High School are some of the best, but maybe not as well told stories of this district. And the high school should be very proud of having 45 articulation agreements with college courses, free tuition for kids to go and get those deposits in their wallet. And this will only expand that and give them more of an end game. And the hope is it will stimulate students to stay here, stimulate the economy, et cetera, et cetera. So there's an economic component to Say Yes, as well as an educational component in Niagara Falls. I've talked about capital projects, Say Yes. Just please bear with me on the eclipse. It's on my note. I haven't forgot it. I know it's April 8th. We'll have an announcement soon as to what that day will look like. I'm hoping it's a beautiful day. And I know I've heard estimates of up to 1 million people could be in Niagara Falls. I don't think I've heard that. I'm just repeating what I've heard. So we will have a plan. I am cognizant of it. I promise you that I'll articulate it well to everybody. Just not sure about some of the fine details of it, but I know it's going to be historic, and Niagara Falls is a prime viewing location. It's April 8th. It's the day we return from our Easter recess, and I promise you that I will have a plan for you. Did I mention Angie Freeman Harrigan? I think I did mention that as our most one of our most faithful listeners. I'm going to stop there. That's 21 minutes of me babbling and hopefully giving some information. I think what we'll do is let's turn it over to Mr. Graneri next. What do you think about that? He's ready. He's poised. He's excited. He can't wait to talk about fishing and other things.
Thank you. I'd first like to talk about multi-factor and why we have to. There's really not a choice. It's a mandated thing. And it's something you're doing already. It's whether your banking account, Netflix, whatever it might be. You just can't log in once. You have to get a factor from another means to gain entrance. So it's nothing really new at all. So this is only going to be addressed when you access your email or Office Teams. It's only going to be once every 30 days or anytime you log on to a new device. The software we're using is something called Duo, and you'll see that when we get into it. We kind of had a little bit of a practice run with a few different groups. We first started with technology administrators and tweaked some things to get it better. Then the entire IS department ran multi-factor and some tweaks. And then lastly, we did central office, and we've got to a point now that we feel pretty comfortable and ready to roll it out. And most likely will be school-based rollouts. And how we'll look is I'll arrange it with the school. We'll have a few techs on site the day it happens, and we'll kind of get into it. You'll have 3 options. The first is probably the easy, and it's related to your cell phone. And you'll do this when you do your setup, when you're first prompted to. It'll ask you to enter your cell phone, and that's where that second factor will go to. So you'll initiate Outlook, go into email. It'll say, please reference a text message on your cell phone for a 6-digit code. You get the 6-digit code. You enter it in and it says, is this really you? You say yes, and you're on your way. The second, which is probably the second most used often, is again, it's related to your cell phone, and that's with a mobile app that you can download. The third is really the third option. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it's if you do not want to introduce or use a personal device. It's a physical USB key that we'll provide you. You'll take that key, you'll put it into your computer and device, and then when you're asked to multi-factor, there isn't a code. It'll just actually ask you to tap the device, and that will be the second factor authentication. It's again, it's really not a choice. We were through some hard work, fortunate enough to become insurable last year. That no longer will be the case unless multi-factor is running. And it really is an effective measure, and it's not something new. And we'll do it in a scheduled rollout, so I think it'll go well.
I just want to say, I'm still here, didn't leave yet, that number one, the way Ray described number one is super easy if that's the way you want to go. That's the way I went. It was as simple as he just described it. Hit a button, got a text, got 6 digits, typed them in, typed I'm not a robot, and I was on my way. That's as simple, and believe me if you know me, but I need it that simple. That's how simple it was. Now, will that happen every 30 days, Ray?
Every 30 days, and
Every 30
anytime you introduce a new device. So,
Okay.
For instance, Rick signed on to the interactive board here. He had a multi-factor. If it goes home on your laptop, multi-factor. So once every 30 days, you're introducing a new device.
And the way I heard you say it is that, I'm not saying this is the first school, but I'll just pick on High Park. High Park, we go to High Park, there'll be some extra text there, and High Park is going to multi-factor. Ray made a really good point. We need cyber insurance, obviously, and we can't get it unless we multi-factor. This is part of an audit that we received, and there is one more part of it. I won't mention it, and I won't let Ray get into it, but they'd also at some point like students to multi-factor.
Encouraged.
It's encouraged, but we're not there yet. Let's get all of our staff multi-factoring. Let's get comfortable. I guarantee you it'll take you a minute and a half, and then at some point we'll talk about students. Ray, next.
Well, just a comment or two on the inactive boards. The priority from day one was and is training, and that was done very well with the group here in Niagara Falls. We're pretty much winding down. So, yeah, just finished Saturday for the formalized training. Training will be an ongoing event, but that formal Saturday training is just completed with the last school, which was the high school. When we're focusing our operational activities, there's a few little couple boards that have to be built, but all classroom builds are in place. We're shifting our energy onto the logistics of the smart board demolitions. And just a few points. These demolitions will be all second shift work. We're going to start with going the same kind of order we did with builds. So in the summer, we installed and build at 3 schools. They're completely done. We're going to start, I don't remember if it's either Telfair, High Park, or LaSalle. My guess is it's LaSalle. And we're going to work in the way we did the build. So the schools that had the boards the longest, the smart boards will have some demolition. It's a recycling process of the projectors, the document cameras, and speakers. The rest are going to be throwaways. The key point here, though, is that those smart boards are going away. So you'll be all in. Like Abbott, Telfair, and Gaskill Prep, their safety net of the smart board was gone in the summer. So whether it's High Park or LaSalle, whatever school we start at, that safety net's going to go away. I guess that's kind of the point. The smart boards.
Yeah, good. So I'll steal Rick Carella's word. Let me punctuate. I'm going to punctuate there. Ray's right. First of all, compliments to our tech team, to Ray, to Rick. We did not want to put 580 boards in people's rooms and say, have good luck, have at it. It was a thoughtful, well-orchestrated rollout that that they are much smarter than I, because you know me, I'm in a hurry, get them out, get them in, get them going. And they had a very thoughtful plan, and they met. All I did was insist on a timeline that it be done by Christmas, and they met it. The high school obviously is a big place, and they were able to do that and do it so successfully, and people had access to training. So they met the goal and the target. The next phase is to really release the old boards from your ability to use them by taking them away. Please know we have plans to replace them with a whiteboard, so you won't have you'll have a hole you'll have a space for a little bit of time, and we'll come in and paint them. There's money to paint and plaster and do all that good stuff, and then you'll have a whiteboard where it was. I also want to thank everyone for the understanding that these boards are mobile and will stay mobile for the foreseeable future. I know that that's not the most popular decision, but the one that I own for a lot of reasons, and I want to thank you for your patience. But I think the big takeaway tonight, Ray, is that how can I say this so artfully here? We're going to start moving away from the old board. And that's what you need to know in a sequential manner. We're not going to just send 40 gals and guys in there to start taking them down. We'll do them school by school. And just like the 3 schools that have already, cut the cord, so to speak, from them, the same thing will happen school by school, but it's coming. It's coming. So thanks.
I just want to share one other thing in the technical matters piece is that the good thing is that when we purchased these boards, we purchased pretty much every possible option. So we've challenged ourselves on getting all these options to work. Some districts are just using it as a giant screen. We are way more than that, but the challenge has been, and to be fair, we still have some struggles that we're working on. Every week we get a little bit better. We're updating drivers or removing processes. We just purchased more cordless dongles. So yes, boards are functional. We're getting better every week, and we're getting really close to having all components of these boards, which again is challenging and probably the most advanced district using ClearTouch locally for sure.
What else you have?
Just quickly on the Apple pilot update, if you weren't aware, right now today we're 95% Windows environment, 5% Apple environment. We are running a pilot that's focusing on pre-K to 2 STEM, assistive technology, including ENL, and just smattering of some other things. The status of it today is that these devices are built, the management system's in place. The STEM cart is on its way tomorrow to Abbott. One of the pilot locations is 79th Street. Those 5 laptops to start will land at 79th Street. Assistive technology and ENL are being built right now. It's kind of exciting time because again, we're going from a 5% perspective to whatever that ratio may be, depending upon our success rate. And again, training is a focus. Teachers, integrators are all going to be trained before these devices, or are trained before these devices land. 2 other quick things. Nick Fagiani and I did a tour of some schools. We're purchasing auditorium-based projectors, much needed, well overdue, and it brings a K4 experience to. We're looking right now for the first wave, Niagara Falls High School, Boniva Bond central office. And then lastly, our good old telephone system is finally coming to a spot where we're going to be good, where it will, could affect you, I hope really not, is that safety measures now when you hit 911 or alerts, lockdowns, lockout processes, now all information is going to be transported throughout the school. They'll be launched through the phones, they'll hit PA systems, and we're working on a component of the boards to tie that in as well.
Yes.
So a lot of things going on.
Really good, Ray. Let me go backwards here. Just to punctuate that, the boards and our phones will be tied in for shelter in place, lockdown, lockout. There'll be so much more functionality. And I thought Ray made a really good point. We want to use our boards to the fullest capability in the most appropriate instructional way, but safety way as well. And that will be helping us with lockdowns, lockouts, etc. The phone conversion, the gym floor, the place, the floor mat, all of these system changes take time, take effort. We have to do them systematically, and we have to do them frequently so we don't get hit with everything falling apart at one time, or needing to replace everything at one time, or needing to expend money all at one time. So I just want to stress that again, great job on the phones. It's taken a little bit longer. On the Apple environment, again, thank you to those pilot teachers. We're going to expect your use and feedback and input. So we appreciate you for taking this on. But Ray makes a really good point. Where I think we need to go more is with assistive technology for all of our students, most specifically our special needs students. And I've really asked Ray and the team and the committee to look into software for our ENL students. We continue to grow in the number of ENL students we have and in the diversity of languages that come with the students, and just know how difficult it must be for a K1 or 2 student who doesn't speak English to sit there and not, fully understand everything that's going on. And we are selling the students short, which I don't want to do if we don't use the technology that we could to help all of our students learn and understand what they need to understand. So that is on the horizon. Last comment before I move on is this is a plug for the technology committee. They meet one of the most faithfully meeting committees every other Thursday. They go for about 2 hours. They have wide representation of administrators, non-instructional staff, and teachers. And Ray leads it, and they have a system to look at everything so that we're not just grabbing things and taking things in and out. So I give all of those faithful technology committee members a big round of applause and thank Ray for his leadership. Now, speaking of leadership, let's move into human resources and the like. And can she do it from down there? Oh, well, I have to punctuate and give information before it can go down there. So as the computer goes down to Ms. Massaro, one of the issues that I'd like her to address, and I'm sure she has more, is to just give some clarification on COVID days, COVID time, COVID laws, etc. And I know she has other updates, but we'll take it away and then I'll find the punctuation where I need to.
Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be back on. We've missed you. So I'm going to start with what Mr. Laurie asked me to start with, but I do have some other real exciting things to share, and we'll go in order, but we'll save the best for last. So Mr. Laurie was talking about COVID, and unfortunately, folks are still getting COVID, and it's just something that we're going to be living with now for a bit. But fortunately, so if there's a fortunate piece of getting COVID, we are able to refund you your sick days. Now, there's a process that we have to follow to be able to refund you your sick days, and I'll just walk through that with you real quick right now. But if after I'm finished you still have questions, please email me or call me because I can walk you through it. So if you get, let's pretend you get COVID, and I hope you do not get COVID, but let's pretend you do. One of the things we're requiring from you is a PCR test that you can get at WellNow or potentially a drugstore. In the absence of a PCR test, we could take a note from an urgent care or your physician that indicates that you've had COVID. In the absence of both of those things, we could accept perhaps proof of a prescription for Paxlovid. One of the things that we are not accepting is a picture of a home test. So you can get a PCR test, you can go to your physician and have your physician confirm the COVID diagnosis. You can go to WellNow or another urgent care and have them confirm it, or you can share with us the fact that you received a script for Paxlovid or another one of the antivirals that they're prescribing for the illness. After you do that, you're going to share that with me, so you can email that to me at mmassaro@nfschools.net. And I am going to then send you 2 documents to fill out. Thankfully, we are not required to quarantine anymore, so that's a real pleasant thing. But what I'm going to send you is an affirmation of isolation. Now, what the affirmation of isolation means is that typically what you should do, again, these are shoulds, is from the onset of your symptoms, you should isolate for 5 days. And then if after day 5, you are feeling well enough to return to work, then what you should do is wear a mask for days 6 through 10. Now, returning to work, we're not making you give us a return to work note. We're not making you come to see anybody in the medical office. We're asking you, Mr. Laurie uses this term all the time, this is collective responsibility and personal responsibility. We're asking you to recognize yourself being fever-free without taking any Tylenol or any other medication to help reduce your fever, and coming back to work days 6 through 10. So days 1 through 5 or 0 through 5, actually you should be isolating. Days 6 through 10, of course, you can come back to work if you are fever-free for 24 hours. So that is what you're going to sign. You're going to sign an affirmation of isolation, and then you're going to sign a document that's called Instructions for Taking Leave Due to COVID-19. And you're going to sign that up. And what you're signing off on that document is that you understand that you are entitled to your regular pay for up to 10 work days. And that is per incidence of COVID, up to 3 incidents of COVID dating back to March of 2020. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing and why it might take us a little bit of time to refund your days. So if you have had COVID twice since March of 2020 and you get COVID again now and you need to have your days refunded, then as long as you provide all of that documentation, we're going to look back into all the attendance back to March of 2020 and make sure that you have not had COVID 3 times or more. And we're going to refund you your sick days up to 10 days. If you have had COVID up to 3 times, and this is your 4th time, we will talk to you on a case-by-case basis, but chances are we're not going to be able to refund you those days. So why it might take a little bit of time for you to see your days returned to you is that we are going to wait until we get all this information from you. We're going to do a look back into your attendance, and then we're going to refund the days. Again, any questions on that, please email me. And I see Mr. Laurie getting ready to punctuate.
Punctuation time, really good job. And easy for me to understand because I've heard it and read it a couple of times. But that is a lot of information that twists and turns. So here's what I would ask in my punctuation. A, send only the information to M. Massaro, only her, no one else, to her and her only, so it doesn't go anywhere and it's streamlined. That's number 1 punctuation. Number 2, she used the word should quite a bit if you replay this tape. Should goes along with being collectively responsible to your fellow colleagues, students, and the community. Strongly encourage would be a way I would go, but I didn't say, nor did she say, mandated or must. So please think of others and be considerate. Number 3, she didn't mention isolation, contact tracing, distancing, any of those, or mandatoriness. So just take that for what it's worth. A lot of shoulds in there, a lot of collective responsibility. We are not returning to where we were a couple of years ago. However, in order to be totally compliant, and again, this twists and turns because it goes back nearly 4 years now, because it's February, in my mind, it also will take Ms. Massaro and some time. And I would punctuate that by asking for patience. B, I would punctuate that by letting you know we will get to everyone who has a question. It just may take some time because it's a humongous undertaking when you're working with 1,452 employees. So please be patient. I think the good thing is that when we're doing refunds, like we may possibly be doing, unless you're retiring, which would go to the head of the list in my book, we'll have time to make things right in good due time. So my punctuation here is patience, but this is out there, and we'd ask for your continued sensitivity to the workload that this has created, but we want to do the right thing by everyone. Thanks. I think you have more.
I have 2 quick things. One is you may or may not have heard from your union leaders about the Workplace Violence Prevention Program. One of the things that we are doing now is currently working with all stakeholders to ensure that the Workplace Violence Prevention Program, which is a new law which took effect on January 1st, 2024, is up and running in our district. Now, this is not anything brand new. This is not anything different than what you have been aware of, but what we are doing is putting some new programs, new risk assessments being completed, and new policies in place. What you should be seeing in your staff lounges and common areas is our Workplace Violence Prevention Policy Statement. That statement gives you a preview of things to come, and it lets you know who the designated contact person is for instances of workplace violence. And I am very pleased to say that that's me. So I am hoping that I don't ever have to hear from anybody, because if you're making a complaint about workplace violence, that's very serious. And I'm hoping that we don't have any of these complaints. But if you do find yourself needing to make a complaint, you would be contacting me in the Human Resources Office to do so. And there will be more to come on this, because by mid-May, we are required to train all 1,452 of our employees on workplace violence prevention and on our program. So you will be hearing more within the next 4 months about this program. Mr. Laurie, anything?
No, you did great.
Thank you. All right. Now, one little bit of housekeeping to let you know about, and then some really excellent news that we are all here very excited about. Mr. Laurie mentioned about watching where you're walking, making sure that you're careful and that you're not getting hurt. Unfortunately, it may happen that you do have a slip and fall or that you do get injured. Please, 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 please ensure that you are following up with your nurse, with occupational health, with your physicians, and filing the incident report form. It's called a first report of incident, and we are under very strict timetables to have that reported. So in the event, which we hope you don't have to, but in the event that you need to medically treat for an injury that you receive while you're at work, we could make sure that everything is covered, because if we miss those timelines because we haven't received the information from you, you may run into some issues with your medical treatment. So although that's not the best thing to report, I wanted to give that little bit of housekeeping. And now, as I've been promising, the real exciting information. So the district was granted a grant. We received a grant. It's called the Teacher Residency Grant. And this grant is going to allow us to have a total of 25 residents in different content areas for a program where we're going to be growing our teachers. So we're going to be having an informational session on that. Now, there are some requirements that you would have to meet before you know that you would be eligible for this program. We're asking for folks, we're required to have folks already have a bachelor's degree in order to qualify for this program. And then you have to have some other commitments that you are willing to agree to. But on February 28th, we're going to be putting out a flyer. We're going to be having an informational session about this, 3:30 February 28th, here in the auditorium at Central Office. We're going to be joined by representatives from Niagara University, and we are going to launch this program and discuss it. I just want to share with you some of the figures that we have. Each resident is entitled to up to $29,000. That's broken down into tuition, books and supplies, and a living stipend. So we're real excited to be able to offer that to residents. The benefit to our current teaching staff is those of you who are looking for ways to accrue your 90+ hours, you are going to be some of the first folks that we look to take on these residents when they are ready for to come into our district and be residents. So again, we are starting this. It's going to be launching on February 28th. We're very excited, and this is some outreach that we're hoping for.
So, punctuation on, first of all, workplace violence, that's always existed. Always you report that to your supervisor or Ms. Massaro, as the district person. And of course, be careful and report any slips or falls. The punctuation on the residency grant: A, super excited. B, bachelor's degree. This is for people transitioning into teaching. Transitioning into teaching. D or 4, whatever number I'm on, or letter. Those that accept a resident will have a resident for almost a full year. And that's what the residency is. I think it's the right idea, because doctors take residence. It would be just like if you were a resident for a doctor, and I think that's the way education should go. So Ms. Massaro is heading up her first big grant here. I have confidence in her, and I think also Niagara University and the partners that we have at Niagara University. They're in partnership with her, and she will go along with NU through all of the particulars in their flyers, their email updates, and that 28th meeting to give those people that are interested in making this transition to a teaching certificate the specifics of the information. And just like the COVID conversation she had, there's twists and turns and ins and outs and things that can often get very specific. So it's hard to answer general questions. And I would encourage everyone to go to the meeting. But another, what I would call game changer for the district, and to add teachers and to help our teachers, these also, I'll end with this, these also have to be for very specific areas of certifications. So we'll get more into that as the month of February goes on, but it's the Department of Labor would only grant the money if you're getting transitioned into a certain certification area. More to come on that. So there are a lot of hooks and nooks and crannies, twists and turns, but please encourage those that you know or might know who are interested in becoming a teacher, which is a very, very difficult, very critical job, to start thinking about this. We think it's going to, of course, bolster our district, help current kids, help current teachers, and it will be a real, another real game changer, I think, for the district. So Ms. Massaro got 2 nice things this month. She got a grant to be overseeing, and she got a fire suppression system put in at the CEC to watch all. She's the records officer. So now we have a new fire suppression system to keep the records safe at the CEC. She's just winning in every area possible. You can't have a webinar without Rick Corella. It's kind of like you can't walk in the rain without an umbrella. I just made that up. You can't have a webinar without Rick Corella. So to close the evening, we'll give it to the aforementioned Mr. Corella.
I kind of like being the closer. So folks, I know that we're running out of time, and there are lots of updates I could give, but I'm only going to give one, and it relates to a question that was sent to us earlier from a registrant, and that's about summer programming. We're currently planning our slate of summer programs now. I can tell you some things tonight, and other things I'm going to have to tell you to watch for within the next 2 weeks. First of all, we plan on offering all of the programs that we did last summer this summer. So the slate will be the same. Also, last year we began, well, actually more than just 1 year ago, we began posting for the positions and asking people to commit to work the various programs starting in March. We will do the same thing again this year. So on or about the first week of March, you will see postings for the various summer programs. Finally, in regard to dates, exact dates have not been selected. The question I received was in particular about the extended learning program, which is the elementary program. So I can tell you 2 things about that. Our summer programs will be aligned. They will more than likely start either July 8th or July 15th. Those are both Mondays. That has not been decided yet. There are pros and cons to each, but they will start no earlier than July 8th. And the ELP program will remain a 3-week program. Last year, we pivoted from 20 days to 15 days. We will keep it the same way this year. So it will be a 3-week program that runs Monday through Friday, which was a significant change that was requested by parents. So that is what I have to share this evening about posting. So please watch your email. And that goes for all updates from my office. We target our communication to different groups so that we don't have too many messages going out that clog up everyone's inboxes, but please read your email regularly so you don't miss upcoming training and information about curriculum work opportunities as well as summer school opportunities. That's all I have, Mr. Lloyd.
So, very simple, but punctuation on that would be more information to come. It will not be at Cataract, and we will not have programs at Calfus this summer. We agreed on that, right?
I don't know if Cataract's out of the loop this year.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to move it. Yeah, it depends on the boy. We were hoping to get a new boiler system in Cataract and do some more HVAC work at Calfus. We had some programs there. And Mr. Baldessari has been begging me, literally begging me to have programs at his school this summer. So I might just have to acquiesce and bring them to GJ Mann. I know we like to keep them in the center of the city, but more to come on that. But please take advantage of those postings. I just wanted to give one positive, well, many positive things, but a shout out on something that I've had a chance to just briefly observe, and that's the New Teacher Academy. Do you have another one scheduled?
It's this Wednesday is our second meeting of 2024.
Super impressed with the New Teacher Academy going on the second year. We have a great deal of new staff.
All 3 levels.
Yeah, now it's at all 3 levels, Rick is telling me. I'm super impressed. I really feel that those that attend get something great to take away from it. They're hearing good information from experienced veteran teachers and coaches. And I know that if that was me, and I remember when it was me, I wish I would have had something like this. I really do. It's invaluable. You know, oftentimes, no matter the fact that you have so many good colleagues that you work with that are willing to share, but to hear and get a little bit more intimate information and knowledge is really, really powerful. So I would encourage the many new teachers we have at all 3 levels to avail themselves to the New Teacher Academy. If you haven't been there, you can still come. Please don't worry about that. Don't feel you missed something and you've missed your chance. That's not how it works. We would love to have you. So, you know, it was 59 minutes with 100 people, and I know many, many more will listen. And we covered a lot of ground. Gene, Roger, an hour and 4 minutes after this concludes, they'll be getting a survey from Gene.
Yes.
We will do this again one more time this year. God willing, there's nothing major that would cause us to come back together. We'll probably do this in May to update you on the budget, staffing, summer programs, opportunities that are going to happen over the summer, answer questions, clarify things during that time. So we'll probably do one more in May. I think 3 times a year now, September, mid-year, end of the year, is a good way to communicate information. And hopefully those that listened picked up something that they didn't know, and those that are listening later will pick up something, or this will spark you to make a phone call, send an email, ask a question, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I close this evening thanking everybody with the Academy Award nominees. Rick has a question here. Angie, we're going to say thank you very, very much. As I think you're our #1 listener, Angie Freeman Harrigan, #1 listener. We appreciate you and everybody that was on the call, but you have won a nice parting gift, which is a what?
Free recording.
A free recording of this whole webinar dedicated to you, Angie. I don't know what else to give you. Don't get Smith or Smished or whatever Ray Maria are calling it. Don't let it happen to you. But Angie, this one's for you, and we appreciate you. So with the Academy Awards coming out, I just need to tell you, if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, it is a good use of 3 hours. It moves, it's interesting, and I learned things. Killers of the Flower Moon, very, very, very well done. I watched Barbie. Please, I watched Barbie. I thought it was interesting. I didn't love it. I thought it was interesting, and I'm open. Huh? It was clever. It was clever. My next plan is to watch Nyad. Rick says it's good. Okay. My son watched Maestro with Bradley Cooper, one of my favorite actors. Said it was well acted, but wasn't feeling it. So that's there. And I think, I want to watch, is it American Fiction? That's the last one I want to watch on the Academy Awards slate. I told you I am studying the history of music right now. I am through the Led Zeppelin years right now. And I read about Derek and the Dominoes, who wrote Layla, that Eric Clapton later did. So I'm in that era of music that I'm reading about. That's what I'm reading. And at breakfast yesterday, my son's girlfriend told me that I should watch something on Netflix. It's a series, Gisela, I don't know. Griselda, thank you, Rick. About a drug lord, of which I know nothing about, but want to be entertained. So Carrie Buckman's listening, my pop culture pleasure. Oh, beef, Rick is saying beef, as the attendees still stay on it, which is good. Concert-wise, I just saw from my new concierge, Michael Schwenkbeck, one of the transportation gurus, is my new concierge. He has some offbeat music selections, if Mr. Schwenkbeck listens to that, but he did clue me in that Heart and Nancy Wilson will be coming on the 11th of August, and I will be in attendance. I am a huge Heart fan, just in case. AJ, are you going to that, Ray? Ray will be attending the AJ Croce concert, who in my younger days, his dad bore a striking resemblance to me, and I will not be attending. Not because of that, just because I won't be attending that. But I will be going to see Jim Gaffigan, who I do think is funny. I don't think anybody else in the room does, but I do. So I will be doing that. So that just about wraps up. Hey, Roger, Gina, the new football coach at UB is like, he's known for his pop culture references. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. I'd like to be known for that too. So that's why I brought this up. That's enough. It's over. 4 minutes overtime. It's over. Good night, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Call or ask questions. We're here to help you. We thank you and we appreciate you. Roger, Gene, anything else?
Nothing here.
Not from this end. Nope.
Okay.
Did we get a chance to thank Angie Harmon? I think we did. Angie Harmon. That's an actress. Angie Harrigan. Of course, I want to thank Angie Harrigan. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.